Hello, welcome to theCUBE here in our Palo Alto studios. I'm John Furrier, host with Dave Vellante, my co-host, co-founder. I'm excited to have this week a great presentation, Robotics and AI Leaders. This is our first one-year anniversary in partnering with the NYSE, forming the NYSE Wired community, which is a combination of theCUBE and the NYSE groups coming together. Rodrigo Liang is here. He is the CEO of SambaNova. Rodrigo, great to have you back on theCUBE. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So, this AI infrastructure thing is hot, okay? And we're seeing the constraint is compute, storage, networking, and data. I don't say database, but there's multiple databases. So you're in the hottest area right now. Talk about the momentum you guys have in context to where the market is.
Right.
Because right now the agents are like waiting to be unleashed on the world, but that's going to be predicated on what horsepower is behind it.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, this is really exciting. I think last few years we saw the world train models and go into this experimentation and try and figure out what models run. To now, over the last 12 months, what we're seeing is everyone's going into inferencing. How do you deploy these models to drive value into the business? How do we do it across a broad range of industries, right, and governments? And so it's incredibly exciting. Every day I wake up, I see some new use case, and I think the world's ready for this transition.
Been great to follow your momentum. I know you got a prop there. I'd love to take a look at that.
Yeah, this is
show it up and explain what it is.
This is our Gen 4. You know, this is our Generation 4 is an RDU, a reconfigurable data flow unit. You know, what SambaNova decided to do is we decided to create silicon that matches the way that these neural nets want to run. The neural nets are data flow by construct. And so this was an idea that was really researched by my co-founders at Stanford, and we've now commercialized it after 8 years. And so we're really excited that net of it, as these models are getting bigger, we're able to run this 10 times faster than an NVIDIA chip at 1/10 the power. 1/10 the power. And we'll talk more about power because I do think that as AI grows, that's going to be the constraint for how to scale AI.
And the use case is primarily inference, is that right?
We do, well, a lot of people use this for inference because the power efficiency of this product is significantly better. But fine tuning, if you have private data, you want to train into these models, fantastic for that as well.
So just a use case, when you guys using that chip for your own cloud, and are you selling it to others to embed in to other systems?
Today we sell them in racks, these fully integrated racks. So you can take, if you're an enterprise, and you have data privacy, data security concerns, you don't want your prompts going out into the public domain, SambaNova will roll the racks into your secure environment, into the same subnet that you already have all certified with your security, and we're running the best models inside your own.
You got all the hot buttons for us because you hit so many things we cover: private AI, on-prem infrastructure. Startups are trying to get in there, but the big thing I want to get with you right now first, before we get into some of those software side of it, is that with the advances in first token out, and then with reasoning and now reinforced learning with human feedback, you're starting to see the demand for tokens for the application layers so high that that's causing enterprises and even the big clouds to look at architecture change.
Right.
This is where you fit in because it's energy bounded. The success of these large scale data centers is bounded by energy. So the energy is the constraint.
100%.
Talk about why this fits into that, and then also the data flows, how that matches into how tokens will be used.
Yeah, 100%. What we're seeing here is, there's a disconnection between the user base and the people who are offering those services, because their user base, they're using more and more tokens, as you discussed. Here's an interesting data point. When chat started, you put a prompt and response, 1x tokens, about 3,000 tokens per on the average. Once you get to reasoning, it's not 10x more, it's 100x more. People are generating 20, 30-page documents. And what's scarier is agentic systems, another 10 to 100x more per prompt. Yeah. Right? And so this is kind of what we have
to. And the consequences of that is that the large-scale system demand and more power is what has to deliver.
Exactly.
Is that right?
You need the KPI you need to think about is tokens per user per watt. Those are the three things that you have to, how many tokens you can produce, how quickly, for how many users can concurrently use it for an energy unit. So SambaNova, we've kind of created this new architecture to handle a very large number of users concurrently for very, very high throughput, because as these token counts increases, you need to do it really, really efficiently and then drive the power way, way down, because ultimately we're going to see that the data centers and the power at data centers are going to be the constraint.
And to your point, it's not 10x, it's 100x. We've heard Jensen say we underestimated demand by 100x. Now, a lot of that was training.
Yeah.
Does that ripple through to inference as well, as you do reasoning and other use cases, sort of whether it's on-prem or at the edge?
Well, look, the next 3 to 5 years, I think you're going to see inference become 90+% of everything we do, right? Training is kind of like, in the world of search, training is like creating a new search algorithm. Inferencing is using the search, right? And so all of us will be doing inferencing, and so that's 95%. And I think you're going to see the use cases accelerate, and as these models and agents get deployed, I think we're going to start losing track of where it's all deployed.
And you're building systems for the cloud, you can build them for on-prem. One of the trends that we've seen in talking to a lot of the banks and other companies, the big New York-based companies and others, is they're not going to put all their data into the cloud. They're going to bring the AI to the data, but they don't have an on-prem AI stack, so they're building them. Presumably they're building with folks like you.
Yeah.
And they need to build out an entire stack, because today, much of it is just hardware.
Right.
So what are you seeing in terms of that trend?
Oh, it's fantastic, because I think the 3 blockers that you have today is, they had the data privacy and security problems, and it's hybrid anyway. They have a lot of very critical data on-prem, and so they need to figure out how to monetize on that data. What's public is public, you got lots of options. But what's private, you have 3 problems. One, you need a large model, right? And today, OpenAI and some of these folks have large models, but the open source models are getting really, really good. And SambaNova, we're #1 on the very big models. Second is their data centers don't have enough power.
Right.
If you look at go on-prem, they don't have a gigawatt data center. Even the largest banks don't. And so SambaNova, deploying a rack at 10 kilowatts compared to 140 kilowatts of NVIDIA, 10 kilowatts goes into most of your existing data centers. And then the third thing that you have is then you have this ability to do multi-tenancy, which allows an enterprise, a large enterprise, to be able to, with a very small footprint, host hundreds, if not thousands of users concurrently.
And those data centers are air-cooled for the most part. The question that people are asking is, do we want to put in the CapEx to go water-cooled? Now, what's the story here? Do you run a hybrid? Do you run water-cooled, air-cooled?
100%. It's 100% standard air-cooled, and so 10 kilowatts, you roll in, it's a standard 19-inch rack with 42 RU, standard Ethernet, standard Kubernetes, standard Red Hat Linux. It's all standard, because we designed this for the enterprise.
Yeah.
And if I look at the data center in there, most people don't want to upgrade the enterprise with a huge amount of CapEx. And so what they want is they want latest AI, but in the environment they already have. And so that's what we did this for. And this
well, the other issue is existing infrastructure, the time it takes to refactor a data center to handle a water and cooling solution that's not on an OCP rack.
Right.
That's crushing to the time to value.
That's right, exactly right.
That's a huge issue.
It's not every deployment will do this. We had one customer where from the time that the machine landed on site to the time they were actually able to chat to a very large model was in minutes, 45 minutes in that particular case. And so it's not every case that's like that, but the ability for you to actually roll something in, deploy it, and now you have the largest models in the world running in your own data center, it's time to value.
How are organizations testing all this on-prem AI stuff? They're building out their own stack. Do they have the skill sets? Are they cobbling together sort of the rest of the stack? How are you helping there?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you've seen is a lot of people have, over the years, bought their own NVIDIA cluster and they're training models and things like that. One of the things that SambaNova we're doing today is we give you access to cloud.sambanova.ai. You go to cloud.sambanova.ai, you get all of the experimentation, all the models, or the best open source models, time to first token that you're talking about, all of those things. Once you're comfortable and you've done a lot of the software work, that same image just gets transplanted and dropped into your own private data center. So what happens there is that time to market and ability to actually lower your risk in the software development on our cloud, on our dime, before you have to make that investment, becomes a great enabler for them.
So take me through this, because I see you guys, been following you guys, been loving the progress, but you're hitting on a new kind of dynamic. The agents, I mean, if I was an enterprise, I'd be like, okay, you're my agent infrastructure.
Yeah.
I can see that. So take me through how I would do that.
Yeah.
Because ease of use is also another issue of helping a startup understand where to play in the stack. I have an ecosystem if I'm an enterprise. I just want to get this done. I got this POC backlog going on.
Yeah.
I'm busy. You got this, the suite, you got a studio model. How do I integrate? Take me through the integration, because I want to go fast. What's the playbook?
Yeah, so this is straightforward. So SambaNova, if you go to SambaNova Cloud, you'll already see the best open source models there. Why do we do open source? Is because most enterprises want to actually train their private data into it, but that resulting model they want to own in perpetuity. right? If I don't have a model that I can give to you, you don't get to own the resulting model of your private data. So that's number one, ownership, model ownership.
And that's secure to them.
Secure to them because we
In
put
your
that
cloud.
in our cloud, and once we move on-prem, that's forever in their own
But
environment.
you don't, no leakage from in your cloud, you fence that off. That's their
Completely
data.
secure.
Yeah.
Their data, their agents trained there, and they own that model in perpetuity. And so the first thing is we give you 95% of what it takes to actually create an agent, all pre-done on SambaNova, because we take those open source models and make it all ready. Then we give you the ability to then take your private data, fine-tune it into it. Now you have a very custom model that understands your business better than anybody else.
You just built the algorithms in the software.
That's right. And now we have an orchestration layer that allows you to then host hundreds of agents within a single rack and swaps in a millisecond.
Oh, you went too fast. Okay, so I get the cloud, I'm onboarding, I'm training, I'm building my IP around my private data. Now I then buy a rack of SambaNova systems. What am I doing on?
So the first thing most people will do is they will come to SambaNova Cloud. And so you go cloud.sambanova.ai, you go on there, and you can see all the open source models. You've trained your private models, now you have them. Next thing they do is they use the SambaNova Cloud and start experimenting. Let me string these agents together in this way because I want to make sure that this workflow actually does what I want it to do because it's calling various different models at any given prompt. And so you get to come on SambaNova Cloud in a very secure instance of it, and you do all of that work. Once you're happy with it, then what happens is, okay, well, because of regulation, because of certification, because of my policies, I have to run it on-prem. I don't get to operate this.
So they buy a system from
and they buy a system, or they subscribe to SambaNova. And so SambaNova have two ways of
on the cloud side.
On-prem too.
Oh,
On-prem, you can come in and say, I want to do SambaNova Suite, which is hardware, software included on a monthly subscription. Just roll a number of racks. I will operate, and SambaNova will manage all of the models on my behalf.
Yeah, it's good.
And spin it up in the cloud and then bring it into on-prem.
So I'm buying a rack. I got to make room in the data center for a rack, or just the boxes, or what? Take me through
A
the
single 19-inch rack, that you see, and so the chips are all fully integrated in there. And if you air-cooled, you plug in Ethernet, standard Ethernet. There's no custom networking. It's standard Kubernetes, standard Red Hat Linux, and so your sysadmin people know how to actually connect to your data systems, all that.
Awesome.
And then what you do is then you pull up the same SambaNova cloud environment, and you fire up your agent, and the agent then points to.
You're
all the
building an
data
agent
sources.
factory.
Exactly, it's the same. Whether that's a token factory for very large models or the agentic factory for these enterprises, basically the construct of it is the same. You need to provide these customized models and very, very efficiently deploy them in production.
And the appeal is you can get there fast. You don't have to retool your data center. What's your go to market? What's your route to market? Can you describe that?
Yeah. So I mean, we have a set of different customers. So the first thing that most people do, the developers, whether you're a SaaS company in Silicon Valley or you are an AI development department inside a large bank, it doesn't matter. Most people come to SambaNova's cloud and they start developing their own user applications. So that's very quick. And so very, very quickly, you can start then consuming tokens. You can come to SambaNova Cloud and say, well, I would like to do a consumption-based model. So you purchase tokens and you start using tokens on our cloud for the computing. And that allows you a very low cost of entry because you can use pay as you go. Very quickly, though, as you go into production, people start realizing whether that's for data privacy or security concerns, whether for national sovereignty concerns. In some countries, you cannot expose that data to parts outside the country. Yep. For whatever reason, they start having needs to deploy their own cluster. And that's when we come in and we say, okay, we'll deploy the cluster. The experience is identical, right? But now I've solved the security, the privacy, the sovereignty issues because I will deploy wherever you want.
Your private AI solution, you're also an agentic pathway for the agentic infrastructure, as well as general purpose tokens for any kind of
for large models. Yeah, exactly. I think that's what we want to do is we want to take enterprises. Everyone's going through this transition, but they don't want to invest the large machine learning expertise that, say, a Meta or an Apple has, right? And so these companies want to get the benefit of AI.
They want to especially own their own specialty models for their business. What's the relationship with the bigger models? Because you said you can get a custom model with open source. Are they fine-tuning off them? Are they distilling off them? Because the small models, we heard Jamie Dimon at Databricks last week saying, hey, we're doing a ton of small models too. So they just want their own stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think, look, here's what I think the small models are great, and they're great for agents. We do those, and we can we can host thousands of these agents in a single rack and swap them, so that's an efficiency thing. But what you're seeing with these reasoning models is the bigger the model, the better. What's the best reasoning model today? It's OpenAI's GPT-4 with 1.6 trillion parameters, right? These models now you see with the Llama models, the very large models, the DeepSeek models. As these models are getting bigger, the quality of them are getting really, really good. And so I can give you a base open source model that is reasoning model, a very large, say 700 billion parameters, and I'll let you fine tune. Now that fine tuned version of it, it's a knowledge base that knows your business more than anybody else.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
And
anybody else.
And that data is never going to seep into the open internet, the LLMs. So is the strategy to scale the SambaNova cloud, or is it to use the SambaNova cloud as a test bed, bring it to sovereign cloud, or both?
Our view of it is we want to allow you to interact with us wherever your needs are. What we're seeing is where our fit is the most is when people start on a cloud just to understand it, but very quickly solve their needs for data privacy and concern, which is often on-prem or in a sovereign cloud.
All right, so I have to ask, this is a good thread. By the way, thanks for sharing, that's a masterclass. I think you're perfect for the agent wave, just kind of been focused on that. But the question of workloads comes up, Rodrigo. So talk about that, because now I got models, I got my proprietary model, but now I want to test it against a workload. Now I have to factor in security, governance, all those things, and my partner ecosystem that I want to plug into it. Now we're in kind of the enterprise IT kind of motion.
That's right.
I mean, quotes around that because it's more AI motion now, but what's your vision on that? How do you see that playing out? What are your customers doing? I mean, I can see them ingesting everything, all the documents, and becoming a learning model for the enterprise, but now I got to run a workload.
Right.
How do you play in that?
Well, I think what you're going to see is, well, two things. One, we partner with a lot of the application using, for Cogen, for example. We have partners that come in and actually create a great workflow, but behind it, it's calling our best models, right? And so what we do with the ecosystem, we sign on as many different users and partners as possible, and we give them the best model. And what their trust on us is the next model that shows up next month, SambaNova takes care of it, and you have access to it. Llama 5 or DeepSeek 2, whatever comes up, if you want the best model and the fastest, we'll provide it underneath. Their application, their customer base doesn't need to know about it.
So you're basically taking the abstraction of owning the infrastructure layer, not optimizing on that with the tooling with Studio to handle the models. And so if things like MCP rises, you leverage that.
That's right. We all open source. And so what we want to do is be able to give you an API interface. And that API interface can be at the prompt level or it can be down at the PyTorch level. But these are going to be open source tools that we leverage because our customers and our partners all want to use.
But you're not dependent upon anything above you. You will leverage whatever is happening in the market that's getting momentum, whether it's MCP, which has been a great win this year for the industry.
That's right.
And better tooling that comes out from some code generation or some sort of cool thing.
Yeah, that's right. And you look at these agentic platforms that are coming too, right? You look at kind of these different open source platforms that are coming that people are developing on. We want to lean into all of those things because it's what the world wants to use.
And as it pertains to the models, you said the best models. You are responsible for vetting those models, for making sure they're safe, and right? You do that work.
Well, so here's So what we do here at SambaNova is give people option. And so one of the things that you'll see on SambaNova Cloud is people always ask me, well, which are the most popular models that people want?
It depends what data it is.
Well, yeah, it depends what data it is, but SambaNova, we're agnostic.
Yeah.
So if you look at SambaNova and people say, there are 25 models up there, why those? It's survival of the fittest, right? We put the models up there based on what people want, but we want to see users use it. If people aren't using it, we are pulling that model down, putting the next one up, because we want to make sure that our customers get full visibility, not from a guess, but empirically driven. This is what people are using.
So you want to give them as much choice for the ones that are being consumed.
That's right, that's right. And then as they see these are the popular models, what happens is the ecosystem behind them, people build applications using those models, are also following. So to some extent, they get trust for the fact that what we are offering is really a representation of the market.
Yeah. Rodrigo, business is good, sounds like. Give us some updates on revenue, headcount, valuation.
Money raised.
No, I mean you have to talk about revenue, but I mean, if you want to share the momentum on the business front, because I think this is at a tipping point now. People want to know who's got the tailwind and actually is performing. There's a lot of evaluation going on. You guys have a good solution. What are some of the stats on the business front, and what's your What's your goal for the year? What are you optimizing for? What's your focus?
Yeah, well, we're definitely focused on building these inference clouds across the world. We're in 15 countries today, and you see us kind of deploying in some of the densest environments. So earlier this year, we deployed a sovereign cloud in Tokyo with our partners in SoftBank. And this is the beauty of it. We can actually deliver these racks to our partners. This is our partners' cloud, but we give them a lot of the infrastructure that's required to build a sovereign service. But here's what you get. As soon as our Japanese partners are actually deploying the cloud, the comfort level of Japanese enterprises to run that is significantly higher.
They're localized.
They're localized, it's in Japanese, it's somebody that they know, it's an enterprise that they've been around in the market for a long time. And then the thing that we did that's really, really important, because our power efficiency is so much better than everybody else, we dropped it downtown Tokyo. Downtown Tokyo, I don't need to go in the boonies looking for a gigawatt data center. I want to deploy inference cloud for mission critical applications where your latency requirements are low, where you have your user base is. I want to deploy where that is. And it turns out, most of those data centers in very, very dense places are energy constrained, right? And so that becomes...
So your breakthrough is the energy piece, the chip, the suite, the cloud onboarding, ease of use, kind of the whole package, is that right?
Yeah, exactly. We can give you your inference cloud in a very energy efficient environment wherever you want. And so now, you're a hybrid world. Anyway, you're going to have the hyperscalers and do those things in a hyperscale environment. But for the needs that you have, which is private, secure, and you want to own, we can give you a very efficient platform to run that.
In that example in Tokyo, essentially, you're white labeling SambaNova to your partner, is that right?
Well, in that particular case, it's actually SambaNova Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, SambaNova Japan partner with SoftBank. And so that, but you've got some of the best Japanese enterprises. I mean, large enterprises coming on and using and developing. I mean, it's just an amazing environment. Of course, we're already in the Middle East, and we're building a really exciting project. We're just starting here in Texas, and so several things that we're doing that are allowing people to get access very, very quickly.
Well, we should talk about the CUBE Cloud.
Yeah, we should.
Rodrigo, thank you for coming on theCUBE, and again, congratulations. I love what you guys are doing. Again, around you, everyone else is innovating. We heard some storage folks with high bandwidth memory and solid state. They're lowering the power envelope by creating closer to the chips, so you're starting to see everyone around you, so it's only going to be a matter of time before we have one in our home.
Yeah, absolutely. Super exciting time.
In the basement.
Thanks for coming on, there's power there. I'm Furrier, Dave Vellante here in Palo Alto for our 3 days of robotics and AI leaders, sharing the breakthroughs that are going to make the difference between success and failure in this new modern AI era. As the agents and the softwares and the infrastructure players are delivering the value, they're all here with us. Thanks for watching.